legend himself, Carter Bryant, is in the building. What's up, my buddy? What's up, my friend? How we doing?
Blake, we got tackle football to talk about. Your guy Mike Jones getting love from BK yesterday. You know it. No, this is I showed Craig some love for that Mardi Gras edit. I'll never forget
yes,
that.
yes.
But yeah, it was cool, right? You see all these clips, and I was going through all the different YouTube clips, Blake, and just trying to, of course, make our own evaluations of just everything. And there's still so many practices left to go, but I felt like yesterday was the first time you actually saw real hitting. So we've
Correct.
seen like other like inside drills and where you don't actually bring guys down. But yesterday there was some popping going on. I like it, baby.
I gotta say this, Carter. My two biggest takeaways of things that I wasn't expecting. Okay, Jacobian Guillory is a freak,
right?
Okay, and Xavier Hill. Okay,
Yeah.
and you know what else? Cordell Thomas, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Carter, dude, they got talent there, right? I mean, because Mason Smith's talented, Jaquelin Roy's talented, but bro, they're battling in the trenches. What did you see from yesterday that you liked? And I'll expound on but they already know. But what did you like from yesterday?
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, is when you look at these drills, it's very important to keep an open mind that, once again, this was their first time hitting, right? Mm-hmm. And you spend, whenever you're preparing as a football player, more time not hitting than actual hitting. So it's a strange thing, right? Where like in basketball and baseball, you're shooting, you're hitting the baseball, you're doing more game-like activities. So understand that, like, what you see from, like for instance, you saw Quincy Wiggins struggle in some of these one-on-one pass rushing drills. Well, in high school, he didn't need to have pass rushing moves. He could just He was the fastest guy on the field, so he could just run through. So it's going to take a while for someone like him to be refined, kind of like a Mason Smith is, who is very technically savvy to go along with his freak athleticism. So that's my biggest takeaway from this, is that obviously Xavier Hill, I texted you about this. He looked really good in those one-on-one drills that do not favor the offensive lineman at all.
Ever.
It does not. So this is also a friendly reminder, because Blake, you played offensive line. These pass rushing drills, in almost every single one of them, do not favor the offensive lineman ever, just because of the circumstances, right? The quarterback can't run. It's not an actual thing or whatever. But yeah, as far as those one-on-ones are concerned, Xavier Hill really did look like he had some pop. And I agree with you with Jacobian Guillory. I do feel that there is a higher likelihood that he actually even starts next year than what we expect the defensive line to actually look like next year. I can easily see it be Mason, Jaquelin, and in the middle right there, Jacobian playing the zero tech. So it's obviously very early, but what we've learned up to this point, and I think, to me, Blake, the biggest specific thing, and I know you're going to get into this with Mike when you have him back on, but LSU is spending a lot of time doing the 3-man front with the jack linebackers doing their own thing. So that does give you – that to me is the biggest takeaway of it all, right? You could still be multiple and run 4-man fronts with all 4 of them having their hands in the dirt. But Blake, for me, the biggest objective thing that we can all take away from it is they're really looking for BJ and Xavier right now, and Philip Webb to a certain extent, to be that outside linebacker guy.
Second year under Brad Davis, you think's made a big impact so far, first day in pads? I mean, because, Carter, like you mentioned, even in the running game that we saw, the one-on-ones, when you know where the ball's going, you know how to shed the block, you know where the running back's going, there's not a lot of decision-making from a defensive lineman. And as a former
Right.
offensive lineman, we used to make fun of defensive linemen for eating crayons all the time. I don't have any any love for a defensive lineman. Just joking to all my buddies out there, but
Right.
they did have a good day, Carter. Does that
Right.
change a perception for maybe LSU fans in some aspect and them having that good of a day?
Yeah, I just think Blake, for me, this is going to be the biggest story from now until the start of next year when it comes to the offensive line is who's going to be the center, right? That's just the absolute biggest story. I think as far as tackles and guards are concerned, I have a lot of big question marks, as does everyone else. What makes it very interesting is, we weren't really high on the LSU offensive line going into this year, even though they returned all their starters. But at least you had an idea that Ed Ingram and Austin Deculus were going to start. I don't think anyone really knows who that lineup is going to be. And that is kind of a scary thing for us as an LSU fan base because we simply don't know. However, it is good that people like you are speaking highly of Cardell Thomas because you're not just going to blow smoke just to blow smoke. You tell like it is. And that's obviously really good. It's also really good to see Will Campbell kind of hold his own and just looking. And once again, I'm not one to hype up a true freshman too much. Will's actually looked bigger and more physical than I thought he was going to. Just from looking at the one-on-ones, looking at how quickly he's moving along in these drills and how quickly it looks like he belongs, there is a more realistic opportunity for him to play next year. And then, to me, Blake, the guy that's the most interesting out of all the offensive linemen is Cam Wire, right? Do you trust him to be that bookend left tackle? That is a very important role. So, obviously we'll see how the next few weeks play itself out. But I would say, Blake, Will Campbell is a big winner just after this first week.
Look very good. I want to see him go up against guys like BJ Ojulari.
Right.
I don't want to see him go up against Quincy Wiggins. Before I make a determination, I want to look, bro. Let's go up against BJ. Brian Kelly with the quarterbacks a lot yesterday. A lot of people freaked out over a 65-yard touchdown, even though it wasn't 65 yards. Regardless, what do you make of what you saw from the quarterbacks? And look, Carter, what I like about it a lot, let me just say this. I like Brian Kelly with the quarterbacks for so many reasons, not just on the field coaching, not micromanaging your other position coaches, right? Like he's not micromanaging Mike Denbrock. He's letting Mike Denbrock run everything. He's just overseeing it. What did you make of the quarterbacks yesterday from what you saw?
Yeah, so right off the jump here is obviously there were some interceptions there.
Don't say.
Yeah, so obviously, the Jure Jenkins touchdown is, like the big highlight, right? And look, you go back to Miles's first start, right? Him and Jure versus Mississippi State.
Right.
Miles actually missed him a lot in that game. Jure should have had an even bigger game than what he had. So I think obviously that's good. But as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, the first thing is it's good seeing Walker be healthier than what we thought he was going to be. Obviously, there was so much about his hand and his leg, and he looks fine. You could tell he's not like 100% sharp, but I am glad he's getting these reps in. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier is someone that if you just look at the throws themselves, he looks like he belongs with the other two. Now, obviously, the experience isn't there like the other two, but for right now, Blake, it's still tough to really say anything about Jaden Daniels because he's still moving his stuff in and trying to play the most difficult position that there is in this sport. So because of that chemistry, I understand that Miles yesterday, it seemed as if he had the majority of those first team reps, but for me, Blake, I do feel Jaden still has just a slight edge because Brian Kelly is going to love that dual threat quarterback ability.
Pulled it a couple times, took off, he couldn't be caught.
Right.
Confirmed. So I mean, Look, let's see. I love the battle. Let's just, and look, we're probably going to talk about a two quarterback situation here the entire season. I have a feeling. So,
Not the two quarterback system. Are you kidding me? Bring it back, baby. What's the phrase, Blake? If you have two QBs, you have none. I'm interested.
Unless you're Florida and you can win a national title with it, or you're LSU in 2007
True.
and you can do it. I got to be honest. I don't know how much I believe that anymore. Right?
Really?
Or meaning if you got RPOs and you got different stuff there. So let me tell you something that I'm hearing. I've told you this off air, but breaking news.
Ooh.
Alabama is going to also tinker with this, with Jalen Milroe. Okay, confirmed. So with that being said, if Saban's looking into it, why shouldn't LSU? I don't know how I feel about that. Now, I agree with you holistically. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a Joe Burrow. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would agree.
Right. So it's not that, but we'll see. Because look, you still had Tim Tebow, Cam Newton backing up Chris Lee.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
So let's not get that twisted. Do you not put Tim Tebow on the field? Nobody in here is Tim Tebow, but we'll see. Carter the Power. I almost said your last name again.
No, you can say it. That's fine. I mean, my name's right there on the graphic, right? I'm Vince Carter and Kobe Bryant put together. That's it, man.
I keep forgetting, dude.
You could say my last name, man.
Do you
say my name? Say my name. In the famous words of the famous philosopher's Destiny's Child, you could say my full name.
Is it Destiny's Child or Kim Mulkey?
You can actually. My middle name, my full name is Carter Ashton Fobb Bryant. You could throw my middle name in there, Blake. I'm
Big Fobb. Your new nickname's Big Fobb.
Big Fobb. That's fine.
Big Fobb. Carter is going to be doing a show right after ours. Okay, so everybody's going to go over to the LSU Power Hour. I'm going to be up in that thing, going to be listening. As well.
Can I bring up one quick thing though, Blake?
Yep,
this was actually the biggest observation I took away from practice, right? I do think, and you've said this, but I do think, and it's just common knowledge, you can't take too much away from any of the quarterbacks just yet. I do think you can take something away from when they actually play the spring game, because that does give you a full month of sample, and everyone would have practiced the near exact amount of reps. So I think not until then you can really, of course, get a true evaluation. However, one thing that you can take away from yesterday were the wide receiver versus defensive back one-on-one battles, in particular, the red zone. Okay. Now, The reason why I believe that to be the case, Blake, is that's how actual red zone receiver play is, because a quarterback is getting rid of the football really quickly. So the rush isn't as paramount. Also, it's a lot of those fade routes where you're man-to-man, whether you're a safety, a nickel, or just a traditional corner. So I think those drills are a little bit more, I guess you could say, game-like. And to me, the biggest takeaway from just that section, just me watching those videos, Blake, was Malik Nabers, right? So here's what I think could be happening right now, right? Malik has been, of course, being brought along slowly with practice, and he's watching because I don't think anyone expected Malik to be healthy and ready to go at this point. I know they were bringing him along slowly, but when you're Malik and you're on the sidelines and you see Chris Hilton really looking amazing right now, and you see Kyron Lacy, an absolutely huge target, and obviously Jack Besh is Jack freaking Besh, and Jeray's making plays. I think if you're Malik, you're like, hold up, I need to strap up and show these guys what I did in year one. And he looked really good. This is a guy who's not at full speed just yet. So for me, the biggest takeaway. Yeah, it's scary. It really is. And seeing him back out there showed me a lot of moxie out of that kid, and also we saw what he did last year. He was really, really, really good. So and then Brian Thomas Jr., someone else. So I think to me, seeing number 8 back out there was very interesting because I thought from what I heard, I thought he wasn't going to come back until the end of spring. But to see him out there just playing like that just let you know how competitive this wide receiver room is going to be next year.
Does it worry you any that the DBs at this point? Well, let me ask you a different way. We believe and think, and probably it's probably true that the wide receiver room is the best position group of at LSU. I think that's not really debatable at this point at this moment. What do you think though about Jay Ward jumping a route on Malik and then pick sixing it to the house in the red zone? There were a lot of interceptions. Carter, I got to be honest, that bothers me a little bit. Jaden Daniels included, Miles Brennan included. It does worry me a little bit. Now it's early in the spring. You're running into, but you're not. There's nothing new about a slant route.
Right.
There's nothing new about a slant. There's nothing new about an out route. Does it worry you as much as it's kind of worrying me a little?
A little. I mean, I still just think same chemistry with the receiver. You're just not going to be where you were.
Carter, if you can hear me, you're
might cut out. So
we can't hear you.
I don't know what's happening. It's whatever. But anyway, I think you can hear me now. At all.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Carter the Power Bryant was our guest. Let's hope that he returns. At least I hope he returns. Mark sends us support money, $9.99 support money. I appreciate that. Harold Wood says, yes, Tyler Steen is a grad transfer. Yeah, he is. I don't necessarily know what his decision is at the current moment. LSU feels okay, but I don't think anybody really feels great about it. Reed Wilson says, I watched those reps. Demarius McGee left me saying he's the next in line. All right, let's bring Carter to the Power back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I felt like the Twilight Zone. And if it happens again, I'm sorry.
Look, it rains outside. Saban did it. Bird craps on my car. Saban did it. I mean, really anything that goes bad in my life, you can ask anybody in this house. I say Saban did it. So, but does it worry you, to get back to it? Does it worry you as much as it does me?
Not really. I don't. It's not bothering me right now for a few reasons. The first is Brian Kelly's quarterbacks. I mean, historically, they've been turnover adverse. So also, we're very early in the install process. Like, I mean, you don't have like the actual routes that they're going to be running. That's why I like that red zone drill, because there's only so much you can do in the red zone, right? And it's one-on-one. It's mano-a-mano a lot of times in those scenarios. I also think this, Blake, as far as the defensive backfield is concerned, yeah, it's scary, right? I think two most, and fits he's doing it, but this all together. Really appreciate you, my man.
All right, Carter, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. Thank you for